Mais
Another major debate, which is now at the end, and we're almost at the end of our second day of our Congress of APCDC conference, and so I would like to call the floor to the Rogério Carapuça, the president of APDC, to close this Congress. Minister of Infrastructure and Housing, the President of ANACOM, the President of the Congress, guests, the leaders of the APDC, associates, colleagues. So this is the end of the third APDC Congress, the 40 years anniversary. So we can see that we didn't have a Congress per year, and so we've been active for 40 years. We can celebrate this anniversary. We have had the debates on the state of the nation, which are normal, and we paid more attention to the topic of artificial intelligence. I'm not going to make a summary of the Congress because that would take forever, but of all the excellent interventions that we heard about artificial intelligence, I paid attention to what Pedro Domingos said. Venn diagram that showed the different areas of intervention of artificial intelligence and humans. With the areas where artificial intelligence can be useful, and the areas where humans are useful and they know what to do, and the areas where both can use them, and where there can be a greater destruction of jobs, and the areas of partnership between AI and humans, which is the right option. So we have a choice. Either we continue to discuss this overlapping area and what jobs are going to be lost, etc., or on the contrary, we look at the area of expansion of the knowledge to the area where both can be complementary and can create a future, a better future. So we look at the glass half empty, half full. As always, the choice is obvious, but we have to make sure that we make the right choice. And so, like all technologies, there's a great number of opportunities. There are also some associated risks, and so there are applications for weapons and so on. Not use technology because of this. Not to use technology is not an option. It's never happened with any technology. We have to limit these risks. We have to face these dangers, but it's not an option. The only option is to use this technology, which will be the one that will bring us a great increase in productivity in the history of mankind, the greatest in the history of mankind. So having discussed fundamental topics, so this digital ecosystem I've mentioned quite a few times. The APCDC is an association, is an ecosystem, so they represent the companies of different natures but collaborate. And the one thing in common is the digital space companies, and APCDC presented a number of measures to fulfill the vision that we present to make Portugal one of the leaders of the economy and digital society in Europe in the next 8 years. And so we thought that 2 terms of office was reasonable time for some of the measures that are difficult to immediately implement. Today, Portugal is just below the European average in the ENG indicators. We're the first of the last, and I've used this expression quite a few times, but we want to be one of the first. We don't want to have the position that we have. We want to move forward to become one of the first. This will be a total transformation of the country, given that digital technologies are fundamental for the development of other sectors and for the digital transformation of other sectors. And so as today we have in our presence the Minister of Infrastructures, and as he's come to represent the government and the Prime Minister in the closing session of our conference of the 6 pillars that we placed in the document, we introduced in the documents, that is a sustainable economic and territorially balanced development, the function of the market and the simplification of the states of security and military. Choose some of them to illustrate, given that in the case of the minister, that had opened the session, the conference, who's responsible for digitalization, modernization. We chose 2 or 3 measures in the area of modernization. So I chose for today to funds, Portugal's funds for 2030 should be for companies and to concentrate supports and sectors of greater added value, like digital economy, include measures to promote digital transformation in all sectors, simplify access and the speed of access to these programs, aiming to guarantee greater efficiency and effectiveness in the fulfillment of the action supporters to create incentives to increase the scale of companies instead of the lack of incentives to growth, and so to low costs, context costs, and taxes, and the aggressiveness of taxes on companies, given that companies have to be awarded for being big and not penalized, to create incentives to mergers and acquisitions, to promote a territorial policy that contributes to a greater scale of national operators of communications and media. We've already spoken about this, and to promote the development of the infrastructure sector, whether the telecommunications, information technologies, the electric network, recognizing the specificity for the technology development of the country to create a fast track for the competent entities. And as the importance of the media operators and the fight of fake news information, and the strengthening of the democratic regime to create sectors for the sector, promoting the revision of the tax regime, including the incorporation of investments to investment. Is similar to what is practiced in other EU member states to guarantee the stability, visibility, predictability in the regulatory sectors of the markets like telecommunications and media, social media, and to ensure that companies can carry out their investment plans based on predefined time frame. Right, just like 40 years ago, we discussed this, we put forward solutions, and we are ready to discuss this with those who govern us.
Muito boa tarde a todos.
Good afternoon, everybody. I would like to begin by greeting my dear friend, Rogério Carapuço, the president of APDC, the president of the Congress, my teacher, my professor. And so I'd like to give a special reference. He was the president of my institute's special president to Adelina Oliveira, the president of ANACOM, Sandra Messimiana, and these 3 personalities, and all of you who are in this room, I know that have a timer. And so I've been in debate for over 2 hours with the topic in Parliament, that is, whether this we discussed the artificial intelligence, and so this was a topic that was not used. So there's a totally objective symptom between the democratic architecture of our country and what are the real concerns that should be the real concerns of our economy, but more than our economy, of our society. And so therefore, this is the first thing I'd like to say. The second thing is that I was sure in these last 33 days, not today, and I confirmed that I made the right delegation of the competences or powers of my Secretaries of State, because I was left with the telecommunications and portfolio and the three regulators on the sphere of my portfolio, because I've understood that in this specific portfolio, the target is not the minister, the target is the regulator. And so I've to certain expect I feel protected. But Professor, I will not leave you alone in this task, and you can rely on me and my ministry and my team in order to find a space of dialogue and give to the sector what, as an engineer, and when I was younger, in the 80s, in the 90s, that exciting growth that this sector had and it doesn't have today. And so we talk about the sector, and so that's exactly what we're talking about. And then I talk about artificial intelligence and everything that I understand that can, in my opinion, bring to this closure of the debate. It's a very today is a sector where the architecture, the regulatory architecture of competition limits action. It is a sector that suffered successive disruptions with new players in the market, with the introduction of new forms of usage of the infrastructure. And so it's a sector that has to find itself again. And it's a sector which requires successive cycles of reinvestment, of intensive capital. Just we did in 4G, and we cannot, and I say we, I'm saying Europe, in order to deal with the next cycle of development, and we must tackle them. We have to find new forms of strength to those who invest in the sector. We have no doubts at all that we have to do this, because this sector has positive externalities like many others for investigation, for innovation, for retaining talent, for the projection of the country internationally. And so we have no doubts at all that we're not going to be able to do this alone. We live in an European ecosystem where the little guy is rewarded, and that is why why didn't the big companies is punished? And so Europe has, and so even the companies of the three representatives on the global scale are small. And the small companies, Europe has this culture of small companies, and we have to fight against this. And so let me tell you that I will do this in the next European Council of Ministers, and I'll be part of this, and on telecommunications on the 21st, in order to try and to bring to the European agenda these topics, because the density, the critical mass brings investment capacity and brings optimization of processes and more ability to survive in a market where the margins do not belong to you, they belong to other players in the market, namely the OTTs and all those who use infrastructure, as was said a while ago. And this topic we are accompanying very closely, because see how Europe can deal with this agenda and make a fair distribution of the revenues from taxes. And so this is the vision. There's a more holistic vision, so to understand how we can create different synergies in the sector, and so and they must be part of our action, and they must be on the agenda of priorities of this government. I would like to say that in terms of artificial intelligence, I was saying in a meeting that I had, I'm not going to tell you the company I met with, to not offend anybody, but I was also critical because I'm a convinced Europeanist, and I like to place myself in the role of a proud European, which saw projects being born like Airbus. And when I was young, and I saw the Concorde flying, and they said that was the quickest, the fastest plane of commercial aviation, and Europe that was able to develop progress like CERN, ESA, and could find forms of financing itself, and to use all this. I'm working on the post. And this is the Europe that I'm proud of. But with artificial intelligence today, the other poles look at us as end users of artificial intelligence. That is, we have these LLM models, we have this computational capacity, use it because it's going to improve your productivity. And in all the studies that we've had, you're going to create a revolution in your economy. You're going to have the opportunity to great number of opportunities. And I ask, why don't we use this, but be the leaders of this agenda as we lead the agenda in the sector of pharma, pharmaceutical sector. And so we can be disruptive in the knowledge. I don't want Europe to be disruptive, but some strategic and artificial intelligence, one of them, quantum computation, computational quantum. There's another one, and so we're running the series of transforming this tripolar world in a bipolar world, which is the bipolar world is at the end of the street, and Europe will become much more irrelevant. And so, with you and with more ambitious vision of a different Europe where you can lead and not only be a user of high technologies produced outside, where we can take advantage of our brains, our talents, our universities, our knowledge, the humanistic vision, our ability to put the human being in the center of political action and public policies. So we have to implement a new development model for Europe without prejudices, without thinking they were great, and so I think that the others are less than us. We have to be proud of our companies. We're proud of our business people. They invest their capital, and they want to see a return on the capital. We live in a Europe where we have to generate wealth in order to make a fair distribution of this wealth and to guarantee a social state of which we are proud. If we're not able to grow, if we're not be able to, together with you and your sector as a leader in this this, we will have a Europe in chaos. We will have more divisions, more populisms, and that is why the role of your sector of APDC and the role of knowledge and technological development in digital is extremely important. That is why Miguel said quite proudly that there's at the top of the rank of those who invest more, and there's two companies that more invest in research and development. That's good. And the investments, and so we have to continue with our universities. We have to work in the European scale. I say to Europe that it's small is not necessarily good. We have to have bigger companies that can compete with the big companies in other poles. If not, we will be totally set aside. But we must be proud the pole that we're allowed. I'm proud to live in. It's not a society that doesn't care of those who need care more, and so we must, but at the same time, generate wealth and have talent, and we have to immigrate, for example, because we don't have an exciting sector that's going to fuel us. No, we don't want that. I don't want that, and that's what this government doesn't want. And that is why the topic of artificial intelligence that is brought to this conference has to take me and my colleague, Sarah Lopes, the maximum of democracy to the Parliament. Politicians have to talk about this topic because it's going to be on the agenda. Artificial intelligence in Portugal will be regulated by the professor here in its initial phase, but we believe that it goes beyond this sector, and in the medium term it will have a different aspect. And so Europe Europe likes to regulate, and it regulates before everybody else. And so, since we're so good at regulating, let's regulate things properly and differently. And so maybe artificial intelligence doesn't have to be regulated the same way we regulate other sectors. And so artificial intelligence is going to be much more disrupted than any other technology. We live in a rhythm of obsolescence. I myself, as a man of technology, I live well with technology. I don't like this obsolescence, and I don't like being outside this knowledge, and I see the challenge in the continents. And so we're going to overcome overcome this with your help, and congratulations for your 40 years anniversary, and you can rely on the government, and so put this at the service of our economy, serve our society, in order to hand over a better society to our children. It's our obligation. Thank you very much, everyone.
So, and now, so this is the end of one more APDC Congress, which is the largest annual event of this association. We took a look at the future. We heard the private and public sector analyzing the present and being prospective. We were the tip of the iceberg because there was quite a team that made this event possible. A large female team that has made this debate possible, thanking those that was interpreting into English and sign language interpreters. So we have ideas, debate. So it's up to each of you to turn this into a better future. Congratulations for your 40th birthday, APDC.